Some cars have been designed without important safety systems. Watch out because the following vehicles can take you everywhere, including the afterworld. Top 10 Most Dangerous Cars in the World 2022. Number 10. Jeep Wrangler. Let's start the top with a car that has few safety mechanisms. It has airbags for the front seats, traction control, stability control, a software to prevent rollover, and a system that allows the driver to set a speed limit. However, other SUVs have systems that the Jeep Wrangler lacks, such as rear seat airbags, lane keep assist, pedestrian and small animal detection with alerts, and automatic emergency braking. During the tests conducted by the European New Car Assessment Program, or NCAP, the Jeep Wrangler scored only 1 star in 2018. Among other things, the underbody was so badly affected by the impact that it was clearly at the limit of its strength. Driver protection was rated at only 50%. In the rear seats, the dummy of a 10-year-old boy ended up slamming into the car's interior when a side impact was tested, despite wearing a seatbelt. If that were to happen in real life, he might even crack his skull. Number 9. Dacia Spring. The Dacia Spring was conceived and promoted as a low-cost electric car, for which the designers decided to cut costs in the safety area. This didn't please the NCAP, which gave it only 1 star and whose general secretary declared to the media that it was cynical for companies to offer eco-friendly cars at low cost, putting the physical integrity of buyers at risk. According to other tougher critics, the Dacia Spring is anything but a safe family car. And that's because, to save costs, they removed safety technologies. It has no multi-collision braking or lane-keeping system, and the emergency braking is extremely poor. Plus, they reduced the airbags in the driver's compartment, which leaves the driver more exposed to side collisions, so the safety percentage for the driver was only 49%. To make matters worse, the Dacia Spring doesn't have proper anchorages for child seats, and the force required to open the doors after impact was considered excessive by testers, meaning that after a crash, survivors would struggle to get out of the car on their own. Number 8. Rover 100. The Rover 100 got only 1 star in the NCAP tests in 1997. It was one of the first ratings awarded by this organization and the first major controversy, as many pointed out that it was too demanding on points such as crash prevention and collision damage reduction technologies. The Rover 100 performed poorly in that, and also showed terrible things in the tests, such as the driver's seat being displaced 19.2 inches by impact and the door on its side was split in 2, causing the dashboard to move forward. The wheel moved 12.2 inches towards the driver's thorax, which proved to be a serious hazard. As for the child seats, the constriction on the child's thorax was found to be insufficient in both frontal and side collisions, resulting in excessive head movement and endangering the child's life. Number 7. Kia Rio. The Kia Rio is one of the deadliest cars in the world. According to US statistics, there were 102 deaths per million registrations in the United States in 2020. Of that ratio, 38 deaths per million were crashes involving a single vehicle, that is, a Kia Rio crashing into something else, while 51 deaths per million were crashes involving multiple vehicles. The rest of the deaths were caused by other reasons, such as hit and runs. In the safety tests, the score was mediocre, 3 stars, but with frightening descriptions. The car's floor racks were cut backwards, resulting in the driver's footwell being broken. Imagine a crash. This would have resulted in the driver's lower limbs being exposed or even colliding at full speed into the asphalt and even losing his legs. In terms of pedestrian protection in a collision, the car received a null score. Better not come across it on the street. Number 6. Nissan Navara. The Nissan Navara ended up with only 1 star crossed out in the 2008 NCAP tests. The passenger compartment was destabilized by the impact. The chassis rails, which run along the floor of the car and provide support, collapsed completely, exposing the driver's feet. The accelerator pedal moved 7.8 inches, enough to hit the lower legs and cause serious injuries. Imagine having a pedal stuck in your shin. The driver's neck ended up thrown back, demonstrating the risk of potentially fatal injuries. The Nissan Navara also had 2 major delays. Both the airbags and the seatbelt tensioners activated late, which can mean death for passengers in such critical events as traffic accidents where every second counts. Number 5. Fiat Punto. In 2017, the Fiat Punto got 0 stars in the NCAP evaluation. It was the first time this organization had given such a low rating. This was because the car had fallen behind in terms of safety technologies after earning 2 stars in a 1997 test. The car lacked lane-keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, and only the driver's seat had a seatbelt reminder. For all these reasons, the safety system's level of protection was rated at 0%. Tests determined that front passenger thorax protection was insignificant and exposed to serious hazards due to the structure of the dashboard, so driver protection received a score of only 51%. Tests on the headrests showed that protection against whiplash in a rear-end collision was bad. Whiplash is an injury resulting from rapid backward and forward movement of the neck. The information provided by the in-vehicle system on the status of the airbags was considered insufficient. After the NCAP evaluation, the Fiat Punto was finally withdrawn from the market, but those who bought it are still driving around. Number 4. Fiat Panda. The Fiat Panda disaster came just a year after the Fiat Punto disaster and proved once again that cars that used to score well could later become obsolete when it comes to safety. In 2011, the Panda earned 4 stars, but not a single one in 2018. This was due to its lack of an autonomous emergency braking system and only the front seats having a proper seatbelt reminder. In crash tests, the driver's seat had weak thorax protection and the headrests didn't protect passengers from possible whiplash, which is why the driver's safety was rated at only 45%. The worst score was the car's poor safety for children, which is worrying given that the Fiat Panda was advertised as a family car. Number 3. Renault Zoe. The Renault Zoe is also an example of a bad update. In 2013, it scored well on the safety test, but after 8 years, the improvements added to the model, such as those regarding the battery power, didn't come with an update of the safety system. Quite the opposite. Some front seat airbags that protected the head and thorax were removed, resulting in the dummies' heads crashing into the vehicle interior during the tests. This would cause major injuries if it actually happened. In addition, tire analysis showed that the Renault Zoe was particularly aggressive on impact with other vehicles. You'd better not encounter it on the road. Fun fact, while running the tests, a dummy lost an arm, but this was attributed to a previous wear and tear. Anyway, the safety for the driver was rated with only 43%, one of the lowest. For all these reasons, the Renault Zoe was rated with 0 stars in 2021. Number 2. Hyundai Accent. The Hyundai Accent is another of the most dangerous vehicles on the list. It has a ratio of 116 deaths per million U.S. registrations. Of this ratio, 28 deaths per million are crashes in which the only vehicle involved was a Hyundai Accent, 9 deaths per million were from rollovers, and 85 deaths per million are due to multi-car collisions. The tests also scored poorly, only 2 stars at 1998. Of these 2 stars, NCAP decided to cross one out to show the unacceptably high risk of injury to the driver's chest in a side impact. In frontal impacts, the passenger compartment became unstable and the lower hinge of the driver's door became detached while the upper hinge came close to doing so. If the door detached completely, the driver would be completely dependent on the seatbelt to keep them from flying out. To top it off, the floor seams next to the driver were torn on impact. Scary. You're about to see the vehicle with the highest fatality rate of all. Time to meet the Number 1. Ford Fiesta. The Ford Fiesta is the deadliest car of all. It has a ratio of 141 deaths per million registrations in the United States. Of this ratio, 46 deaths per million registrations correspond to single vehicle accidents, and 13 deaths per million correspond to rollovers. Although NCAP awarded it 3 stars in 2000, other agencies are much harsher and point out serious deficiencies in frontal crash tests in which the driver is seriously exposed. It's possible that in the event of an accident, there could be significant injuries to the head and lower left leg. Although the truth is that there isn't much to think about, the very high fatality rate indicates that, in fact, many people get into accidents aboard the Ford Fiesta. So it's recommended to think twice if you're going to buy it as a used car. With all these statistics and tests, it has been rated as a bad car in terms of safety. Beware of getting into a Ford Fiesta because it may be the last ride of your life. These were the most dangerous cars in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell because there's more car content for you. See you in the next video.